No species on the station could jump higher than half a meter, so when the human cleared 12, the entire command center froze, because they weren't watching a cadet, they were watching a biological missile. Commander Vrel had seen a lot in his 30 cycles of military service. He had negotiated peace treaties with the Kragoth Empire, survived 3 separate assassination attempts, and once watched a Naxian pleasure cruiser explode because someone microwaved fish in the break room. But nothing, absolutely nothing had prepared him for the morning a human girl decided to take a shortcut. The Galactic Unity Station was supposed to be the pinnacle of interspecies cooperation, a shining example of what the galaxy could achieve when everyone played nice and followed the rules. 16 different species, all training together, learning together, and definitely not trying to steal each other's military secrets. The station floated in neutral space, equidistant from every major power, with artificial gravity set to 0.7 standard, which was the comfortable middle ground for most species. Humans called it, quote, absurdly light, end quote. That should have been the first warning sign. Vrel took pride in running a tight operation. Morning routine started at 6th bell precisely. Cadets assembled in their respective zones performed their species-appropriate exercises, and then proceeded to the mess hall in an orderly fashion. Orderly, that was the key word. That was the word that kept a station with 16 different species from descending into chaos. Order, routine, predictability. These were the pillars of military discipline. Sirovox and Torres had been on the station for exactly 9 days. 9 peaceful, uneventful days where Vrel had started to think that maybe, just maybe, the rumors about humans were exaggerated. Sure, she was a bit taller than most species, and yes, she did have that unsettling amount of teeth when she smiled, but she seemed pleasant enough, followed orders, showed up on time, didn't start any interspecies incidents. The human liaison officer had warned him that humans were, quote, a handful, end quote, but Vrel had dealt with handfuls before. How bad could one teenage human be? The answer came at 6th bell on day 10, and it came in the form of Sirovox and Torres launching herself over the central barracks like a biological missile. Vrel had been doing his morning inspection, checking that the Kylarian cadets were not trying to photosynthesize during drill time again, when he heard the screaming. Not the normal morning grunting and complaining that came with physical training. Actual, genuine, fear-laced screaming. He turned just in time to see what his brain initially registered as a small spacecraft arcing through the morning air. Except it was not a spacecraft. It had arms and legs, and it was wearing a standard-issue cadet jumpsuit. The thing, the person, the human came down on the other side of the barracks with a heavy thud that Vrel felt through his boots from 50 meters away. She landed in a crouch, absorbed the impact like it was nothing, and then straightened up and kept jogging toward the mess hall. Jogging, like she had not just violated several laws of physics and possibly a few interstellar treaties. The entire training yard went silent. 300 cadets from 16 species stood frozen, staring at the spot where Sirovox and Torres had just achieved what should have been impossible. The barracks building was 12 meters tall. 12 meters. Vrel's species could not jump half a meter on a good day, even with all 4 arms helping. Lieutenant Quinn, the head of security, materialized at Vrel's side so fast that his feathers were still ruffling. The Avari officer's beak clicked rapidly, which was what happened when his translator could not keep up with his panic squawking. Commander, did we, was that, he finally managed. I saw it, Vrel said, his voice coming out much calmer than he felt. All 4 of his arms had instinctively reached for weapons that were not there, because this was supposed to be a safe training environment. Someone tell me that was not what I think it was. But it absolutely was. The surveillance footage would later confirm it in horrifying high definition. Sirovox and Torres, human cadet, exchange student from the planet that the rest of the galaxy had quietly agreed to mostly avoid, had executed a standing jump that cleared a 2-story building, with room to spare. She had not used any propulsion device. No anti-gravity assist. No jetpack, just bent her knees, swung her arms and apparently decided that going around was for species who respected the normal limitations of biology. The morning alarm started blaring 3 seconds later, which was how long it took Ensign Kato in the surveillance room to process what he had witnessed and slam every panic button within reach of his gelatinous appendages. The station's emergency klaxons had 3 settings. Level 1 was for minor incidents like hull breaches or surprise inspections from high command. Level 2 was for serious threats, such as hostile ships or containment failures. Level 3 was reserved for extinction-level events. Ensign Caudot had somehow managed to activate all three simultaneously. Blast doors slammed shut across Sectors 7, 8, and 9. Automated turrets deployed from the ceiling, tracking systems scanning for the threat. Cadets scrambled for emergency stations while officers shouted conflicting orders into communicators. Somewhere on Deck 4, a Pylaxian cadet fainted, which was their species' natural response to literally any stressful situation. The entire station had gone from peaceful morning routine to full combat readiness in under 30 seconds. Commander Vrel sprinted toward the command center, which was dignified language for the awkward scuttling motion his species managed at top speed. His translator earpiece was screaming with overlapping voices, each more panicked than the last. Security teams were deploying to intercept the threat. Medical teams were prepping for mass casualties. Someone was yelling about sealing the reactor core. It was complete pandemonium, and Vrel still was not entirely sure what they were supposed to be defending against. He burst through the command center doors to find Lieutenant Quinn already at the main console replaying the surveillance footage for the 5th time. Dr. Helix, the station's chief medical officer, stood beside him, her compound eyes fixed on the screen. 3 other officers crowded around, their various appendages pointing and gesturing wildly. "Report," Vrel demanded, trying to sound like he had any control over this situation. "Unauthorized aerial assault, sir," Quinn said, his feathers standing completely on end, which made him look like an angry feather duster. "Object achieved 12.3 meters of vertical clearance and approximately 8 meters of horizontal distance. Trajectory suggests a planned attack vector." "Attack vector," Vrel repeated slowly. He looked at the screen, where Sierra Voxent Torres was frozen mid-leap, her arms swinging forward, legs tucked beneath her. She looked focused, sure, but her expression was not exactly screaming hostile intent. She looked more like someone who was running late for breakfast. "You think this was an attack? What else could it be, sir?" Quinn pulled up another angle. "No species in the registry can achieve this kind of movement without mechanical assistance. We have scanned for propulsion signatures, gravitic distortions, anything that could explain this." He pulled up a technical readout covered in numbers that meant absolutely nothing to Vrel. "There is nothing. No energy signatures, no equipment, nothing." Dr. Helix clicked her mandibles together, which was the Rygonian equivalent of nervous laughter. "I have pulled her medical file," she said, gesturing with 2 of her 6 arms. "According to her intake physical, Sierra Voxent Torres is a completely standard human female, 17 standard years old, no cybernetic enhancements, no genetic modifications beyond what is baseline for her species. She is by human standards aggressively average." "Average," Vrel said. The word tasted wrong in his mouth. "Average humans can do this. Apparently." Helix pulled up a comparison chart. Her muscle density is 0.3% below human median. Her bone structure is standard. Her cardiovascular capacity is actually slightly below average for humans her age. If anything, she is on the weaker end of her species' spectrum. The command center went very, very quiet. Someone's communicator beeped and they nearly jumped through the ceiling. Vrel watched the footage again. Maya's feet left the ground. She rose, and kept rising. Her form was perfect, economical, like she had done this 1,000 times before. At the apex of her jump, she was easily 3 meters above the barracks roof. Then she came down on the other side, absorbed an anic that should have shattered bones, and jogged away like nothing happened. "Play it at quarter speed," Vrel said quietly. Quinn complied. Frame by frame they watched Sierra Voxen bend her knees. Her arms swung back. Then everything exploded forward in one smooth motion. Her legs extended with enough force to launch her entire body mass 12 meters into the air. The slow motion made it worse somehow, because they could see every muscle engaged, could track the physics of it, and it still made absolutely no sense. "Her legs," Lieutenant Quinn whispered. "Sir, her legs just generated enough kinetic force to move a cargo container. I have run the calculations 3 times. The power output is absurd. She weighs, what, 60 kilograms? Where is this energy coming from?" "Her muscles," Dr. Helix said, and she sounded like she was trying to convince herself as much as anyone else. "It is just her muscles. Human musculature operates on a different efficiency curve than most species. They come from a high-gravity world, 1.3 times standard. Their entire biology is built for those conditions. When you put them in 0.7 gravity, they are essentially, well, super soldiers," Vrel finished. His stomach, or the closest thing his species had to a stomach, clenched. "They are all super soldiers. Every single one of them. Technically they are civilians, Quinn corrected. This one is a student. She has not even finished her basic training yet. That made it so much worse. They found Sierra Vox and Torres in the mess hall eating breakfast. Not hiding. Not preparing for a second assault. Not coordinating with other human operatives because thankfully she was the only human on the station. Just sitting at a corner table with a tray that held approximately 3 times the caloric intake of a normal species. Working her way through what appeared to be her second helping of protein bars. When the security team arrived, 8 officers strong and armed with enough firepower to stop a small invasion, she looked up and smiled. That human smile with all those flat teeth that were somehow more unsettling than proper fangs. "Oh hey," she said cheerfully. "Is something wrong?" Lieutenant Quinn's translator made a strangled sound. "Is something?" she asks. If something, she literally. He gave up and just gestured at her with all his wing arms. They escorted her to interrogation room 3, which was really more of a conference room with uncomfortable chairs, because the station was a training facility and not actually set up for hostile prisoners. Sierra Voxen walked between the security officers without any apparent concern, still carrying her protein bar. She even waved at some other cadets they passed, who all pressed themselves against the walls like she might explode. Commander Vrel was waiting in the interrogation room, all 4 arms crossed in what he hoped was an intimidating posture. Dr. Hillock stood in the corner, medical scanner at the ready in case the human did anything else physics-defying. Quinn took up position by the door, which was locked. Not that it would do any good if Sierra Voxen decided to leave. She had already proven that walls were optional. Sierra Voxen sat down, looked at each of them in turn and then asked, "So, did I miss a drill or something? Because I checked the schedule this morning and I was pretty sure I was good until 0900. You jumped over the barracks," Vrel said flatly. She blinked. "Yeah. I was running late. The mess hall closes breakfast service at 7th bell and I really wanted the good protein bars before they ran out. The chocolate ones, not the weird green ones that taste like sadness."
"You jumped over a 12-meter building."
"Well, yeah. It was faster than going around." She took another bite of her protein bar. "Wait, is that not allowed?" Nobody said anything about vertical clearance restrictions in the cadet handbook. I checked. There was a whole section about not exceeding speed limits in the corridors but nothing about jumping. Vrel felt a headache forming, which was impressive because his species did not technically have the right neural structure for headaches. "Maya, most species cannot jump 12 meters. Most species cannot jump 1 meter. She stopped chewing, swallowed. "Oh." A pause. "Oh, I did not even think about that. Sorry, Commander. I have been here over a week and I guess I just forgot that everyone else is, She trailed off, apparently realizing that there was no polite way to finish that sentence. "Weak," Dr. Hillock supplied helpfully. "Compared to humans, the rest of the galaxy is functionally weak. Your homeworld has gravity 1.3 times standard. You are, from the perspective of your biology, operating in a reduced resistance environment. Everything is lighter. Everything is easier. I mean, I guess." Sierra Voxen looked genuinely confused. "It is not that different. Sure, things are a bit floaty here, but it is not like I suddenly got superpowers or anything. I am still just me." "Just you launched yourself over a building," Quinn said from his position by the door. His feathers had calmed down slightly, but he still looked like he expected Sierra Voxen to sprout wings and crash through the ceiling. "Okay, to be fair, I have a pretty good vertical back home too. Made the volleyball team junior year. I can clear like 2.1 meters on Earth, so yeah, in lower gravity I figured I could get higher." She said this like it was the most reasonable thing in the world, like everyone could just naturally jump their own height plus some. Vrel pinched the bridge of his nose, or rather the section of his face that was roughly equivalent. "Can you demonstrate your normal physical capabilities? I need to understand what we are dealing with here." "Sure, I guess." Sierra Voxen stood up, looked around the room. "Do you have like a pull-up bar or something?" They did not have a pull-up bar. What they did have was a cargo loading beam that ran along the ceiling, rated to support equipment transfers up to 200 kilograms. Dr. Hillock helpfully pointed this out, probably assuming it would be too high for Sierra Voxen to reach. Sierra Voxen jumped, casually, and grabbed the beam. She did not struggle, did not strain, just pulled herself up until her chin cleared her hands, then lowered back down, then did it again, and again. She counted out loud, cheerful and conversational, like she was not currently doing something that most species needed hydraulic assistance to accomplish. 6, 7. "How many can you do?" Vrel asked, morbidly fascinated. I don't know. Like 50? I have not really maxed out in a while. My record is 73, but that was after training for the fitness exam. She kept going, not even breathing hard. This is kind of nice actually. The lower gravity makes it way easier. Normally my arms are pretty tired by 20. Lieutenant Quinn made a sound like a dying kettle. That beam is rated for cargo equipment. It is rated for cargo. She is doing pull-ups on cargo equipment. Sirovoxen dropped back down, landing with that same effortless absorption of impact. Was that okay? Do you need me to do anything else? I can do push-ups if you want, but I will probably need to do them one-handed here to get any actual resistance. One-handed push-ups. For resistance. Because apparently normal push-ups were too easy in 0.7 gravity. Dr. Hillix checked her medical scanner, which was reading Maya's vital signs. Her heart rate is elevated but not significantly. 105 beats per minute. For the physical output she just demonstrated, that is absurd. Her cardiovascular system is barely registering this as exercise. Because it isn't really, Sirovoxen said helpfully. This is like a light warm-up back home. If you want me to actually work out, I would need to add weight or something. Vrel sat down heavily. His legs, all four of them, suddenly felt very weak. Maya, I need you to understand something. What you just did. Most species on this station could not do that with mechanical assistance. You are casually performing feats that we would classify as enhanced combat capabilities. She looked uncomfortable. I am really not trying to show off or anything. I am literally just existing. This is normal for humans. Like I am not even athletic by our standards. I am okay at volleyball, but I did not make the track team. My little brother can outrun me, and he is 14. I am aggressively average back home. Average. There was that word again, and it was rapidly becoming Vrel's least favorite word in the galactic common tongue. Right, he said slowly. We are going to need to have a very long conversation about human physical standards, and then I am going to need to file approximately 7,000 incident reports, and possibly retire early. Sirovoxen bit her lip. Am I in trouble? No, Vrel said tiredly, but the rest of us might be. Commander Vrel sat at his desk staring at the blank incident report form on his screen. He had been staring at it for 20 minutes. The cursor blinked at him mockingly, waiting for him to explain to High Command how he had managed to turn a routine training station into a demonstration of why humans were galactic apex predators. How did one even begin this report? Dear High Command, we have discovered that the teenage exchange student can leap tall buildings in a single bound. That sounded insane, but it was also, unfortunately, completely accurate. He started typing, stopped, deleted everything, started again. The problem was not just the jump. That was the headline incident. Sure, the one that had triggered 3 levels of emergency alerts and probably shaved a few cycles off his lifespan. But now that Vrel was actually thinking about it, really paying attention, there had been warning signs. So many warning signs. He had just written them off as quirks, minor incidents. Things that happened on a station with 16 different species all trying to coexist. The cafeteria tray incident from day 3, for example. Sirovoxen had been loading up her meal, which was already alarming because she was putting enough food on one tray to feed 3 Naxians. The tray itself was standard issue, designed to carry approximately 5 kilograms comfortably, maybe 7 if someone was pushing it. Sirovoxen had loaded hers with what the kitchen staff later estimated was 12 kilograms of food. Then she had picked it up with one hand. One hand. Like it weighed nothing. Like the laws of leverage and muscle mechanics were just suggestions. Vrel had watched a Calarian cadet try to lift the same load with both hands and fail spectacularly, sending protein cubes skittering across the floor. Sirovoxen had just walked to her table, balanced the tray on one palm like a server at some fancy restaurant, and sat down to eat. Nobody had said anything because, well, what were they supposed to say? Excuse me. You are holding that tray wrong. Then there was the door handle situation. 5 broken door handles in 9 days. 5. They had chalked it up to equipment malfunction, because surely no cadet was gripping the handles hard enough to snap reinforced alloy. Except now Vrel pulled up the maintenance logs and saw that every single broken handle had been on doors that Sirovoxen used regularly. Her quarters, the training gym, the library, all of them showed the same stress fractures, consistent with grip pressure that exceeded safety ratings. She had not been trying to break them. She had just been opening doors. with the same casual grip strength that apparently for humans was baseline normal. Dr. Hillix had sent over her supplementary report an hour ago, and Vrel pulled it up now, reading through it with growing dread. The medical officer had gone back through 9 days of sensor data, tracking Maya's movements throughout the station. Her average walking speed was 2.3 times station standard. She took stairs 3 at a time without thinking about it. She had once caught a falling equipment case that weighed 40 kilograms, and caught it one-handed, and the motion capture footage showed she had barely shifted her center of balance. There was a clip from the gym. Cira Voxen doing what she called a light workout on the resistance machines, the machines that were calibrated for the strongest species on the station. She had maxed out every single one, and then asked the gym supervisor if they had anything heavier. They did not. The supervisor had logged it as a calibration error. It was not a calibration error, humans were just built different. Vrel kept typing, documenting everything, and his report was starting to look less like an incident report and more like a threat assessment, which, he was realizing with growing horror, was exactly what it should be. He pulled up the classified files that had come with Maya's transfer, the ones he had skimmed and mostly ignored because they seemed exaggerated. Earth was listed as a Class 12 Deathworld, which was the highest rating on the scale, gravity 1.3 times standard, atmospheric oxygen levels that would be toxic to most species, weather patterns that included routine natural disasters, apex predators that hunted in packs, microscopic organisms that could kill in days. And humans had not just survived there, they had thrived. They had climbed to the top of the food chain on a planet that was actively trying to kill them, and then they had looked at the stars and decided that was not enough. There was a note in the file from the Kralian Defense Ministry flagged as priority intelligence. Vrel opened it even though he was pretty sure he did not want to know what it said. Human military capabilities remain classified, but observational data suggests their civilian population possesses physical attributes equivalent to our elite special forces. Recommend extreme caution in any engagement scenario. Note: humans have historically been less than forthcoming about their actual combat capabilities. What they show us is likely not representative of what they can do. Vrel read that last line 3 times. What they show us is likely not representative of what they can do. Cira Voxen Torres, aggressively average human teenager, could jump over buildings and do one-handed push-ups for fun. She was below average in human athleticism. She had not made her school track team. What exactly could an above-average human do? What could their actual soldiers do? Vrel did not want to know. He really truly did not want to know. He finished his report, attached all the evidence files and sent it to High Command with a priority flag. Then he poured himself a drink from the emergency bottle he kept in his desk drawer, because regulations said he could not drink on duty, but regulations also did not cover your reality has been fundamentally altered by a teenage girl. His communicator beeped. Message from High Command already. That was fast. He opened it. It was one sentence. Verify that this is not a joke. Vrel looked at the surveillance footage still playing on his secondary screen. Cira Voxen Torres, arcing through the air like gravity, was a polite suggestion she had chosen to ignore. He typed back, I wish it was. The emergency meeting of all department heads was held in the main conference room, because apparently Vrel's day was not complete without gathering everyone together to collectively panic about the human situation.
18 department heads from 12 different species packed into the room, which immediately became a logistical nightmare of environmental requirements. The Calarians needed their section of the table under grow lights. The Bendari required elevated humidity. Lieutenant Quinn kept preening his feathers nervously, which was shedding everywhere, and everyone, regardless of species, looked like they had seen a ghost that could bench press a cargo hauler. Right, Vrel said, calling the meeting to order with a sharp tap of his knuckles on the table. We all know why we are here. The human situation has escalated beyond what any of us anticipated. High Command has responded with new protocols, effective immediately, and none of us are going to like them. He pulled up the official directive on the main screen. Human Accommodation Protocols Revision 7.3. Apparently we are not the first station to have this problem. There are now galaxy-wide standards for facilities hosting human personnel. The list was extensive, painful, expensive. All door handles to be replaced with reinforced titanium alloy. All furniture in human quarters to be rated for 5 times standard use stress. All physical training equipment to be recalibrated or replaced with versions capable of handling human strength output. Installation of high clearance zones for human movement.
revision of all safety protocols to account for human reaction speeds, which were apparently fast enough to catch falling objects that other species would not even see until they hit the ground. This is going to cost us 3 cycles worth of maintenance budget, the station engineer groaned, their translator barely keeping up with their distress whistles. For one cadet, one single human cadet. Would you prefer we keep breaking door handles? Vrel asked tiredly. Because at the current rate we will run out of replacement parts in 6 days. Ciro Voxinus, not trying to destroy station infrastructure. She is just existing. This is what accommodation looks like. Dr. Helix raised 2 of her 6 arms. I have been consulting with the human medical database. Did you know that Maya's bone density is sufficient to withstand impacts that would liquefy most of our skeletons? Her muscle fibers are structured completely differently. Her cardiovascular system can operate efficiently in oxygen levels that would cause brain damage in 70% of known species. She is, biologically speaking, a walking tank. A tank that apologized for being late to breakfast. Lieutenant Quinn added, still sounding traumatized. She said please and thank you during her interrogation. She asked if we wanted her to demonstrate more exercises. She has no idea how terrifying she is. That was the worst part, Vrel thought. Ciro Voxing genuinely did not understand. To her, she was just a normal teenager trying to get through cadet training without embarrassing herself. She had no concept of how much she was holding back just to exist in their world without breaking everything. The station rumor mill had gone into overdrive naturally. Sarah Voxon Torres was now simultaneously the most popular and most feared cadet on the entire station. Other cadets would stop and stare when she walked by, like they were witnessing some kind of cryptid. Some asked for autographs, others changed their routes to avoid her entirely. She had become an unofficial station celebrity, legendary for her ability to do the physically impossible, and she seemed genuinely baffled by all the attention. Yesterday she had offered to help a Pylaxian cadet move furniture. The Pylaxian had fainted on the spot. Ciro Voxon had then carried both the furniture and the unconscious Pylaxian to the medical bay. By herself. Uphill. Vrel pulled up another file. This one stamped with about 15 different security classifications. I requested clarification from High Command on why humans are restricted from most joint military programs. The official reason is political sensitivity and cultural differences. The actual reason, he highlighted a section. Galactic Military Command is terrified of them, not because humans are aggressive, not because they start wars, but because in any conflict scenario human physical capabilities fundamentally break standard combat models. He pulled up a tactical simulation. Standard engagement between 2 species appropriate forces. Now add 1 human soldier. Just 1. The entire tactical landscape changes. They move faster, hit harder, survive damage that would kill anyone else, require less supply support, can operate in environments that would be lethal to most species. And that is assuming the human is not even particularly well trained. So what you are saying, the station engineer said slowly, is that humans are essentially a cheat code for warfare, and the galaxy has collectively decided to just not invite them to play. More or less, Vrel confirmed. Earth has a defensive treaty with the Federation, but they are not integrated into standard military operations. They handle their own sector, they solve their own problems, and everyone else just quietly agrees to leave them alone and hope they stay friendly. The meeting wrapped up an hour later with everyone thoroughly depressed about the amount of work ahead of them. As department heads filed out, still muttering about budgets and protocol revisions, Dr. Helix lingered behind. Commander, she said quietly, I have been reviewing Maya's academic records from Earth. She was not exaggerating about being average. Her athletic scores place her in the 43rd percentile for human females her age, slightly below median. Vrel felt something inside him break. So what you are telling me is that there are humans out there who make Ciro Voxon look weak. Olympic athletes, special forces operators, professional performers who have dedicated their entire lives to physical excellence. Helix's mandibles clicked nervously. The Federation keeps very close tabs on those individuals. There are international agreements about where they can travel, what they can do, who they can interact with, because they are living weapons. Because they could accidentally destroy things just by being careless. Helix pulled up one final file. There was an incident on a Kraulian station 5 cycles ago. Human freight worker, helping unload cargo. He sneezed. His involuntary muscle spasm dented a bulkhead. The force of his sneeze, Commander, Their reflex actions generate more kinetic energy than some species can produce intentionally. Vrel stared at the dent pattern in the photo. It looked like someone had hit the wall with a hammer. "We have been treating this as a Siravoxan problem," he said finally. "But it is not. It is a human problem. They are all like this. Every single one." "Yes, sir. And Siravoxan is below average." "Yes, sir." Vrel looked out the viewport at the stars, at the vast expanse of space where humanity was out there somewhere, mostly keeping to themselves, and suddenly he understood why Earth's solar system had an exclusion zone, why most species gave human ships a wide berth, why the galaxy had collectively decided that maybe, just maybe, it was better to let the Deathworlders have their corner of space, and not ask too many questions. Because if this was what below average looked like, Vrel really did not want to meet their athletes. His communicator beeped. Message from Maya. "Hey Commander. Sorry again about this morning. Want me to help with any heavy lifting as like an apology? I have free time after training." Vrel typed back. "Thank you but no. Please do not lift anything heavy. Please do not jump over anything else. Please just continue being as normal as possible." Normal. Right? Like anything about this situation was normal. He closed his eyes and tried not to think about the fact that somewhere on Earth, there were humans who made Siravoxan Torres look unimpressive. Humans who had actually made their track teams. Humans who trained for combat. The galaxy was not ready for humanity. Vrel was not sure the galaxy would ever be ready for humanity. And the most terrifying part, the humans did not even realize how scary they were. They just kept being friendly, helpful, and completely oblivious to the fact that they were galactic apex predators playing nice with everyone else. Vrel poured another drink. It was definitely going to be one of those cycles.